Robert Benzie is the Queen's Park Bureau Chief for the Toronto Star. He joins me now from Queen's Park. Robert, good to see you again. What's the message?
Peter.
What's the message Doug Ford's government is trying to plant with Ontarians here?
I think the message is what Mr. Ford has been saying since he was elected last June, is that the carbon pricing scheme that the Prime Minister is proposing, or that is now the law as of April 1st, will cost Canadians more. It'll cost you more at the pump. It'll cost you more from your heating bills. It costs you more on your food bills, according to the provincial government. Now, this ad, though, doesn't tell you the other side of the story, and I think that's where the controversy is going to come in dealing with this.
So the truth in advertising part here, what does the ad leave out?
Well, it leaves out the fact that there is a federal rebate, and that my colleague Susan Delacourt spoke with the federal Environment Minister, Catherine McKenna, today, and she said that this ad is basically telling lies because it doesn't tell you the full story. The Green leader here at Queen's Park, Mike Schreiner, said the same thing. Andrea Horvath, the NDP leader here, she is concerned about the ad. I spoke with the Auditor General of Ontario, her office today, and they say that they would not have approved this ad under the old Government Advertising Act, but now the rules have been changed by the previous Liberal government, so that ad can stand, and it's in heavy rotation.
And we'll get to right through the end of June, right, in prime time. And wait a minute here, aren't all the Ontario gas stations supposed to slap this blue sticker on every pump to remind motorists of the federal tax? But the pumps in the ad don't see the blue sticker anywhere. What gives?
Yeah, no sign of the sticker. I don't know if that's an aberration or an oversight or a deliberate change. It's not clear. Those stickers, of course, they're 20 centimeters by 15 centimeters, so they're about the size of an iPad, so they're quite large. And they're going to, gas stations are going to have to post them or face fines of up to $10,000 a day. So there's a lot of concern about that at Queen's Park as well.
Okay, we have a new poll out today from Nanos that shows nearly 2/3 of Canadians think it's unacceptable for provinces to opt out of the federal climate plan. That number is 60% in Ontario. And that nearly 2/3 oppose spending public money to fight the federal carbon tax, and that number is 66% in Ontario. So the poll suggests that Doug Ford might not have the people of Ontario on side with this ad campaign. But does that matter to him?
Well, Peter, that same poll also says that Canadians are concerned about the price of gasoline,
right,
the price of other fuels. So I think it's a double-edged sword. I think everybody wants to do something about climate change. I think with all of the flooding you've seen, especially in the Ottawa area and in other parts of Ontario, Muskoka and so on, people realize something has to be done. But I don't think anybody wants to pay a little bit more at the pump or face what some call hidden charges in order to deal with that. I think everyone agrees climate change is a problem. No one seems to agree on what to do about it.
Wasn't it Doug Ford who slammed the Liberals over this kind of advertising? And didn't he promise to? I thought he promised to put an end to it. What's happened?
Nothing. Yes, in opposition, the Tories were very vociferous about this because the previous Liberal government, of course, had watered down the Government Advertising Act in 2015. So that made it easier for governments to do these kinds of ads. And in opposition, the Tories were against this, and they had private members' bill saying that they would, as soon as they were in government, they would ban it. But I spoke to the Auditor General's office today, and nothing is happening on that front. And I don't think anything will be happening anytime soon on that front, because governments, once they get in power, parties, once they get in power, realize that they have all of these levers at their disposal, and they choose to use them.
I mean, Doug Ford has promised to use every tool in the toolkit here to fight the federal carbon tax. But and I guess as we watch this campaign roll out, a lot of people are wondering whether this helps or hurts Andrew Scheer and the federal Conservative chances in the province of Ontario when we get to an election 5 months from now. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, yeah, Mr. Ford is spending $30 million of Ontario taxpayers' money on this campaign. So it may help Mr. Scheer in some quarters, but it also may hurt Mr. Scheer in other quarters where there are people who are concerned about climate change and who are maybe a bit offended by this advertising blitz and don't like this. So it's a double-edged sword, as you know. Today's analogy is double-edged swords, I guess. But you know, Mr. Scheer and Mr. Ford are aligned. They are part of the resistance. Remember, they're on the front of Maclean's with Scott Moe and Jason Kenney. So who knows if this is going to have a big issue in the federal election in October. It's hard to say at this point.
Okay, let's finish on this. The Ontario case against the carbon tax has been heard in court. Any idea when we expect a ruling?
Well, remember we had the Saskatchewan ruling. They lost 3-2, and we'll see what happens in Ontario, and then we'll see presumably when it gets to the Supreme Court. But the legal experts that we speak to don't seem to think that the provincial case against this carbon tax is a very good one, because Ottawa is allowed to impose levies on the provinces.
All right. Thanks for this today, Robert Benzie. The big ad campaign in Ontario underway, and we'll see how long those ads run and see what effect they have on the big conversation about climate change and carbon taxes. Thanks for your time today, Robert.
Thanks, Peter.